This is Michael Lukes, manager for the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. I'm joined here by Kevin Harrington, entrepreneur, television personality, author, and much more. Kevin will be receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award at the CEO National Conference this October and will also be inducted into the CEO Hall of Fame. Kevin, thanks a lot for joining me.
Michael, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me today. Really looking forward to the October event.
Same here. Tell us a little bit about As Seen on TV Incorporated.
All right. So I've been in the As Seen on TV business for about 30 years now. I'm sometimes referred to as the inventor of the infomercial, which I love that title. Because I did the first ever infomercial back in 1984. So I've been shooting infomercials from the Billy Mays from the early days, the Ginsu Knives, the Arnold Morris, way back, Jack LaLanne, Juicers, and George Foreman, and the Kardashians, and the Jenners, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been a lot of fun. Along the way, I acquired a significant asset that was AsSeenOnTV.com, and that was an acquisition I made about 3 or 4 years ago. And at that time, incorporated a company called As Seen on TV Inc. So I'm the founder of that, the major shareholder, and just been doing As Seen on TV product for about 30 years now. So it's sort of my bread and butter, I'll say.
So through all that time, what has really driven you up to this point? What drives you as an entrepreneur?
What drives me is finding new and exciting products on a regular basis. It's people say that, I go to dozens of trade shows a year: the houseware show, the hardware show, the fitness shows, the beauty shows. What could be so bad to have to go to Milan, Italy for the beauty show, though? I joke when I say that, but it's bottom line is I love dealing with entrepreneurs and taking their ideas, the passion that I see when I go to these shows of these inventors, these entrepreneurs launching their product. And also what drives me is knowing that what I know today that I didn't know when I was maybe like they are now launching their product. If I can just impart some of that wisdom and, maybe mentor or be a part of it in some fashion, what could be so bad, right? So it's the drive for me is mentoring and hanging out with entrepreneurs that have the creativity and the vision to create new products, new businesses, new ideas, and be part of it where it makes sense. So that's really a driving force for me is connecting with the entrepreneurial community.
Great. And on behalf of CEO, I want to thank you for agreeing to speak at the upcoming conference hosted by University in Tampa in Orlando. What do you plan on sharing with the students and young entrepreneurs in attendance?
Well, one of the things I'm planning on sharing is how to, I call it to become a key mogul, a key influencer, key person of influence. A lot of times, people that students and entrepreneurs, you start something, you get an idea, and you just don't know how to take it to the next level. And so there's a certain confidence that you need and a certain step-by-step process that I've developed. And it's I'm not going to share it all in our short talk today, but when I do talk in front of the crowd in October, I'm going to be sharing it's like when I was sitting with Mark Burnett, and he's talking to me about going on Shark Tank. And he's like, Kevin, tell me, if you could, in a few short sentences, how did you get to become this person in the world of As Seen on TV to be sitting in front of me being, selected to be on Shark Tank? And I had to think, how did that come about? What were the steps that I choose to get to that position? And that is what I put together and actually have now written it down and developed a little talk on it, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with everybody. Is kind of, it's not how to get on Shark Tank per se, but it's, how take yourself and your idea and your business and position yourself as a key person of influence.
Why is it important to you to give back to young entrepreneurs, to speak with them?
It's important to me to give back to young entrepreneurs because that's where I started. I actually was one of the founders, co-founders of the Young Entrepreneurs Organization, going way back to the early mid 80s, actually. And so, as a young entrepreneur, which I was until I got old, I realized that many other young entrepreneurs need help. They need a little advice, and this is the bottom line. And sometimes you could be going down a path that you could spend a year, 2 years, and a lot of capital you should have never gone down, and would have never had to really spent that money. And if I, as an old entrepreneur now, can help a young entrepreneur learn that without making those same mistakes, give a little bit of advice, it's so much easier sometimes just to get a little of advice, a little mentoring, and that's what I hope to be able to provide with various of the folks that I meet through the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. So hoping to impart some of that advice and wisdom across the board.
And what value can students and young entrepreneurs get out of events similar to the CEO National Conference?
Well, certainly it's a great networking conference. I say look for partnerships, look for other companies that you can do deals with, get distribution from, find mentors, find capital, learn how other people, be very inquisitive. I say put your mind in curiosity overload while you're there. Find out how other people are marketing their products. How are they raising capital? Where are they going to? What are the, is there any new things going on in crowdfunding and angel lists and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So be a sponge for new ideas, new technology, new distribution platforms, et cetera. And with the internet, things change so fast that you never know who might be the next Uber that's going to be coming out, that creates a multi-billion-dollar valuation. So just, be ready to be at the right place at the right time.
CEO students are very excited to meet you at the conference. We received several questions from members for the interview. The first is from Michael Flowers, who wants to know when you discovered that the life of an entrepreneur was something that you really wanted.
Oh, it goes back when I was 15 years old. I started my first real kind of business. It was a driveway sealing business. And I was knocking on doors and getting the door slammed in my face until I came up with an idea that revolutionized my selling process. And I won't get into all the details of it in this call, but then I went back to the same neighborhood, but I got 30 doors slammed in my face after coming up with a new technique, and I closed 20 of the 30. And so those were $100 jobs per deal, so 20 times 100 was a couple $1,000 and about a $1,500 profit. So that's when I realized that I was an entrepreneur, because I was not just a salesman, but I had a truck, I had a license, I had insurance, I had to buy the product, I had to resell it, I had to install it, and that was when, and I was making $1,000 a week at 15 years old. So that's when I got the drive and the desire to be an entrepreneur and own my own business for the rest of my life.
Student Will Weber would like to know what's the single most important thing you look for when investing in a product or a startup?
Well, the single thing is, it's always tough when you only pick one. But I mean, I would say, in many cases, probably the most important thing is, the person that's running the deal. So if you're backing somebody that's got a tremendous track record, that's going to give you a lot of comfort, and many investors will want to see. I mean, if you don't have a track record, you might not have any chance with a certain group of investors. So I think that's ultimately the number one thing, and I think after that, I say I look for so let's say it's a product, I look to see some successful track record where it may have sold somewhere else already. Okay? But that's sort of getting back to backing somebody that's got a track record. So whether it's a person that's got a track record or the product that has a track record, maybe if we made that single thing is give me a product with a track record or a person with a track record, that's what I look for.
Being a successful entrepreneur, author, investor, and television personality, I can only imagine how often you are approached with ideas, investment opportunities, and by people just looking to network. What's the best way to grab the attention of a successful entrepreneur such as yourself while leaving a positive and memorable impression?
Well, there's always a lot of interesting ways. I mean, sometimes it's tough. You have to think outside the box sometimes because too often, we get inundated. But, I think having something that is generally, like a 1 or 2 pager type of a piece of information is better than a 50 pager because a lot of times you don't have time to go through all 50 pages. And so just, give me a really powerful executive summary. And one piece of advice is show the upside, to somebody that you're pitching. A lot of times it's all about me. I need money because I'm this and I'm that, and I've got the greatest idea. But what's in it for you, the investor? That's always a good thing to be thinking about. How can I accelerate the payment back to the investor? So think about the investor and what it takes for them to be interested. So think of creative ways to track people down, whether it be sending special Federal Expresses to their desk that hits their desk in a special way. It's amazing. Generally, emails are very tough because a lot of emails get screened and don't even end up at people like Donald Trump or myself. People are trying to get to me. A lot of times it just doesn't get to me even because it gets screened by other people. So get as creative as you can, but always thinking about what's in it for that investor or that shark or the person you're trying to attract their interest.
Yeah, that's great advice. The Merced chapter of CEO wants to know what other business leaders inspire you and why.
Well, I think I've always been inspired by the people that have, Steve Jobs, obviously, is an amazing guy because he had such a passion and a conviction for for quality and building a brand. So God bless him. He's no longer with us anymore. But that kind of conviction. He got thrown out of his own company and had to come back because he knew what he was doing and he believed that strongly in it. So so I think I believe in entrepreneurs that never give up, never quit, continue to go at a pace, and I say, it's a quote from Winston Churchill, that failure is part of the game, and it's you have to fail with enthusiasm in order to be successful. Okay, so not that you get enthused about failing, but it's because it's tough to each time you fail say, oh, I'm enthusiastically failing, but it's you have to, I say, fail fast and get to once you realize that something's not going to work, move on, be able to cut the cord and move on to the next. Because in business, not everything works. Not every deal works. Not every product launch works. And when it doesn't, tweak it, try it again, but fail fast, move on to the next, be able to cut the cord and cut the losses. Don't spend good money after bad. And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that's a conviction of their ability to continue to find the next home run product in a succession coming off of other failures.
Once again, this is Michael Lukey's here with Kevin Harrington. I have just 2 questions left here. What's the biggest mistake you see young entrepreneurs making, and how can they work to overcome that mistake?
Probably the biggest mistake young entrepreneurs make. I love passion, but too often there's sometimes can be too much passion without proper due diligence and knowledge of what you're up against. And I'll sit with an entrepreneur and I'll say, yes, but you think about this, you think about that, and they're like, well, I'm not really worried about that yet. And it's there's sometimes just not enough planning, enough capital, enough teamwork involved with entrepreneurs. And I can blame myself for being a little pig-headed along the way myself. And I've learned as an older entrepreneur to bring a collaborative effort to the table. Surround yourself with experts in the areas that you're not strong in, and so it's and don't be afraid to give up a little piece of the pie along the way. I'd rather have 60% of a huge pie than 100% of a pie that never gets baked. So that is where some entrepreneurs fail, is they try to keep it all. They're not willing to bring other experts in and advisors and mentors. And they're not listening to enough outside influence on how they can gain experience and knowledge from others. So that's probably the biggest thing that I see.
Great. And last question here. What's your best overall piece of advice for young entrepreneurs?
The best overall advice I have is, I sum it up with, I mentioned the word earlier, and I say it's make sure that you don't close your eyes and continue to have what I call a curiosity overload factor in your life. Even if it's in just your industry, I go to a lot of trade shows. I read a lot of trade magazines. I read a lot of newspapers every day. I immerse myself in blogs, in new product reviews. I do dozens of trade shows. I go to the new product sections of those shows, and so I'm at the houseware show, the hardware show, the fitness show, the beauty show, the craft show, the golf show, the toy fair, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is I immerse myself in a curiosity factor of what's new, what's hot, what are the price points, what are the color combinations, what's going on in those industries, and this is what keeps me knowledgeable about the marketing world and the opportunities that are out there. So when I meet an entrepreneur that says, I don't see anything new and there's nothing exciting going on in my world or whatever, I say this is what you need to do. So it's keeping abreast of the new opportunities that are out there and making sure that you're current on things that may be just around the corner from you. So the curiosity factor is one of the most important things that is it's just ingrained in myself as an entrepreneur, and I hope that those that are listening today, Michael, will remember this last thought of keep yourself curious and overexpose yourself to many new things and opportunities on a daily basis.
Great. That's fantastic. I'd like to thank Kevin Harrington once again for the interview and for coming to speak at the 2014 CEO National Conference. Kevin, thanks a lot for your time and can't wait to see you in October.
Thank you, Michael. Look forward to it. Take care. Bye-bye.